Howdy friends, Brian Flechsig, a Mad River Outfitters in the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and I'm here today to talk about a very, very important subject. You know, you've maybe heard me say this before, but your most important piece of gear is your fly. Yes, your fly. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I think it's a tie between your leader and your fly, because yeah, you can argue that if your fly is not what the fish wants to eat, then you're not going to do well. But if you have the right fly that the fish wants to eat, but your leader can't deliver that fly and then make that fly act appropriately, and then number three, survive the fight of the fish, then what good is the right fly? So actually it's a tie, and we're going to talk a lot more about that coming up here this fall and in future episodes, but stay tuned. What we're going to talk about today is sharpening a hook. And let's face it, if your leader is right, you get the fly there. The fly is what the fish wants to eat, but your hook is not sharp enough to penetrate, well then what good is it? And you hear about this a lot in bass fishing, conventional fishing, saltwater fishing, but not a lot of fly anglers seem to talk about it, and it is very important and it's very simple. You know what, you've heard this before. One of the ways you can kind of test this is you take that hook and you kind of run it along your thumbnail, and if it catches on your thumbnail, it's probably sharp enough. But a lot of times it won't catch on your thumbnail. You don't kind of feel it scratching or digging in, and you probably need to sharpen that hook. You all know how I like to clean my fly lines incessantly. I like to make sure that my tippets are in good shape, and also I'm sharpening my hooks on a fairly regular basis, especially on my big stuff, on my saltwater stuff, on my big game. I was just down in the Amazon peacock bass fishing and Louisiana red fishing, and I'm sharpening my hooks on a fairly regular daily basis. And really, no matter what they tell you, I don't care if you just bought it at a fly shop, it's chemically sharpened, all this, or it's a special shape. It's not true. You should sharpen your hooks on a fairly regular basis. It's only going to benefit you, okay? So this is real easy. I've kind of settled upon these Dr. Slick hook cones, and the Dr. Slick hook cones are really easy to use. They have these rubber foam handles, and here's a tip. When you're using this, try not to touch the hook cone part of it. If you touch that, the sweat from your fingers, the salt, the oils can cause this to rust in the long run. So try to just hold it by the rubber handle if you can. And these Dr. Slick hook cones, this is the 4-inch, and then for big game, you'll notice I'm not going to touch the hone itself and grab it by the rubber handle. They are diamond grit hook sharpeners that have two different grits on either side. The big one, the 6-inch, I believe is 600 grit and then 300 grit. And you can always tell, Dr. Slick has done this. I mean, first of all, you can tell by looking at it that this side's a little rougher, so it's the 600 grit. And then this side you can tell is smoother, that's the 300. But Dr. Slick has put their little logo on the heavier grit, the 600 grit, and then the 300 grit does not have a logo down here. So you can always kind of tell just by looking where the logo is. And then this one is 300 grit on this side and then 150 on this side. I definitely carry this in my trout and freshwater setup, and this one will work on general trout flies. And then also I can use it on some larger streamers, poppers, things like that, no problem. And then of course the big one is what I carry in my big game saltwater when I go to the Amazon or fishing in the salt, the big one. Now these do have a groove in them, and I'll show you why that's there. It's really pretty simple concept. But when you're sharpening a hook, there's a lot of controversy, and you'll hear some people say one thing, some people say the other. But you know, I've really decided upon the fact that it's always best to be sharpening going with the point, not pushing away from the point, okay? So you want to go with the point, And it's really easy to do. What you're going to do, and another thing about this is the angle. You don't want to come in at a really high angle. You just want to almost lay it flat, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to do one side of the hook, and you're going to run it down there about 5 or 6 times, okay? And then flip it over and come with the point. So you're pushing the point against there, again, at a very shallow angle. Now, you typically want to sharpen a hook, you want to sharpen the sides, and then you want to sharpen the underside. That gives it kind of a triangular point to it. And the grooves on this Dr. Slick hook cone make it really easy to put the hook right flat in there, and that gives you that nice triangular point. And I can already tell a difference in this. I might go a couple more times, and I'm using the smooth side because this flies right out of the bin. If that didn't do it, you might want to start with the heavier grit to get it roughed up, and then smooth it out with the smooth grit. But you'll play around with it and you'll get the hang of it. So I'm going with the point, so I go this direction. And go about 5 or 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that, and then put it vertical right in that groove, excuse me. And oh, there we go, much better. That's not like butter at all. Little trout flies are great. I'm usually using the smoothest side. I'm going to bring the point towards me 5 or 6 times, 5 or 6 times, and then run it right down that groove. And that's going to sharpen it up real good, digging right into my nail there. And then of course this guy the same way. I'm going to go with the heaviest grit, and again, and then I'll put it right in that groove and run it right down, and that should sharpen it right up. There we go. I can tell a difference already. So like I said, Dr. Slick hook cones, they're not very expensive. 11 bucks for the little guy, 16 bucks for the big guy. I carry them both. Of course, I fish freshwater and saltwater and big game. But you can find these at madriveroutfitters.com. So keep your hook sharps, friends. It's very, very important. It's your point of contact with the fish. So as always, if you like what we're doing, friends, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more coming at you, and smash that like button, of course.
Whoa, what are you wearing, Brian? Looking good.
Oh, man, thanks for noticing. If you ever see me wearing a t-shirt, it's gonna say Mad River Outfitters. And for sure, it'll be over top of a plaid. Get yourself a Mad River Outfitters t-shirt. There's a link in the description. If you like this video, hit subscribe. It helps out a lot. And check out these videos. We think you might like them too.